All right, here we go on a Thursday morning live from the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer and Geo program for a Thursday, August 10th, as they say. The number to get in, 877-337-6666. We got the Fleegs and the Zoo and the other part of the Fleelo, and that's CeeLo and Boomer to my right. And we've got the Giants and the Jets with these organized practices with the Panthers and Lions. And we'll get to all that. Plus, Josh Hart has himself a new contract. We'll get to that as well. But we're also going to find out that the state of the Yankees is going to continue and continue into the future. And why the hell not? They win a lot of games, but they don't win World Series anymore. And with that, I say good morning to one Boomer Esiason. Sir, how are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jerry. How you doing today? Right? You sound a little tired to me.
Tired?
Yeah.
Not even remotely tired.
Really?
What is that based on?
I don't know. Just the way
Just
that you
yelled for a minute.
Just the way you open the show and everything.
I feel great. I played golf with Joseph yesterday. I got out. I exercised a little bit. I got great sleep. I watched the Johnny Manziel documentary, so we could discuss it at some point this morning.
All right.
Couldn't be doing better, actually.
Okay, that's good. So anyway,
you have bags under your eyes.
I know because I woke up with a headache like at around 3:30 this morning.
So you're tired. So I see what you're doing.
I'm actually jacked up right now.
You're putting it on me. To deflect away from you.
No. I'm good, man. I feel good. I'm ready to rock and roll, and there's a lot to talk about. And one Brian Cashman seems to be in the crosshairs right now this morning, as we have all sorts of, reports from insiders and things of that nature. I'll let you get into that and discuss it a little bit more. But, I don't know what's going on with Luis Severino. It's painful to watch.
Yeah.
Really, we are watching a young man who at one point in time was going to be the lead guy for the Yankees and showed all the promise in the world that a young prospect would. And all of a sudden now it's meltdown city. And I just think I don't know if he's tipping pitches. I don't know, what else could be going on here. I don't know if there's an arm problem, a shoulder problem, who knows? But I know one thing, there is a severe psychological problem here from a sports standpoint.
He's lost it.
He has lost his confidence. And, for all of us who think we're the louder we get, the more we get rid of guys and scream about that. It's a sad thing to watch, when you watch an athlete lose their confidence the way that Luis Severino has lost it. And the things that he says after the games are eye-opening. And I know they tried to protect him last night. They didn't want to start him. They wanted to bring him in the second inning. They want to see if they can get him out of the first and maybe not have the nerves that were probably in his way. Maybe he was saying something towards a sports psychologist in that regard. Who knows? But all I know is that watching him last night, it was really hard to watch.
Yeah, and when you do, this is not just one time now. It's over and over and over again, and the ERA is horrific, as we know. And the whole thing about not starting him in the first inning, to me, makes no sense. He's a starting pitcher. If you're going to pitch him, pitch him. It didn't matter last night. I mean, he comes into the game. So Ian Hamilton gets the quote-unquote opening responsibility. And I was talking to CeeLo about this before, too. It's like I understand the notion of a reliever coming in and starting. You give him the first inning or so. He threw 10 pitches. 10. Not 24, not 30, 10.
They may need him on Friday to open against Miami.
I don't know what they need him for, but here's what I know the Yankees needed last night: a win. They needed to win last night. He goes out there, he gives you a 10-pitch first inning. It would not have killed them to throw him back out there for one other. All right, fine. Their plan is him for one. Now we're going to Severino. Why is he out there beyond the second inning? I mean, his second inning, which was his first, was terrible. And then I know you're trying to find something with him, but this is not the first time. It's not the second time. It's not the third time. He's been bad all season. And one notion, if anybody calls about Severino today, the one thing I don't want to hear, because Cashman obviously is in the crosshairs too, and this is all part of it, this idea that they made this huge mistake by giving him the contract when they gave it to him because, you see what happened. No, that's actually, it's what the Braves have been doing. It's what the Rays have been doing.
Buy out the years, and that's what the Diamondbacks did with Corbin Carroll.
And the Yankees, I think, it has not worked out right now. There's no question about it. But that's what they were doing with one of their own, and they were trying to make good, sign him early. It made sense at the time. So don't call up and bash. Don't have that part of the Cashman bashing today. Well, look at what we did with Severino, bad signing. Well, it wasn't at the time. So
no, everybody was happy with it at the time, actually.
It made sense.
And when you think about it, and Aaron Boone after the game was very, very clear about this. They had a plan going into the game. The plan was we're going to give Ian the first inning no matter what, and that's it, because we may need him on Friday if we have to do this all over again. There are all sorts of things that go on that lead to plans and decisions. These things aren't just made haphazardly. Now, I do believe that the manager has to adjust relatively quickly if things are going to go haywire.
It went haywire last night.
And they won haywire, early. So their plan that they had set up basically turned into foobar.
Quickly.
Right, very quickly. And that's really the unfortunate thing. So, but the other circumstances that they're dealing with, that they only really have Nestor Cortez, I don't know how far he'll go his next start, but they really only have two starting pitchers right now.
Yeah, it's
and
a problem.
That's Clark Schmidt and it's Garrett,
Cole.
So now what do? How do you react to all the different things that are going on around you? And one of the ways to react was to do what they tried to do last night. Believe me, if they could, they would take Severino out of the starting rotation. They would not think of him as a starter. I don't even think he thinks of himself as a starter at this point. I think he's even asking for help, like, do something with me. But whatever you do with me, we can't keep doing what we're doing because it's not working. So he even recognizes that.
All right, so last night, he goes in the second inning, and he immediately gives up the double. He gets the out, then he gives up the single to, I guess, it was Grandal, I believe. At that point, I'm watching the game, and I'm thinking, next guy, I got to get moving here. And instead, and I know you're not taking him out at that specific moment, but my thought is, this is more of the same. And then he gives up the home run. And then I'm thinking, he can't come back out for the third inning. The game's 3-0. You need to keep it here. And then he comes back out for the third inning, and he's bad again. And that's part of, to your point about having to adjust on the fly. And I thought that was one of those, figure it out. You got enough arms out there.
Do you?
Well, let me ask you this. Could anybody else have been worse?
No, that's true. But there are times where I know, I could just imagine how Aaron Boone is sitting there going, "Oh, Jesus,
I agree.
This is going on. What the hell am I going to do now?" And sometimes plans go awry. I'm sure football. I've been in a lot of games where you have the plan set up and the plan doesn't work, and then you got to divert to plan B, plan C, whatever it is, and you got to do it quickly. And it's, I can't even tell you. I don't want to sit here and criticize Severino because he's being open and honest about his problems. He's not hiding. He's not going out. He's not doesn't have this mindset like. I thought Ottavino had this mindset last night. When Buck finally came out of the dugout, they yank him out after he throws 3 pickoffs over and gives up second base, completely lost.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at Buck and goes, me? You're taking me out? That kind of thing? And I'm like, yeah, we're getting you the hell out of here. It just, that I will criticize because I don't know where his head was at last night. This Severino thing has been building and building and building and building. And right now I see a guy that is completely a shell of himself. You'd be a tough guy and say, get rid of him, cut him, DFA
No, I wouldn't do that.
Send him down, whatever.
But I wouldn't pitch him.
But what I'm saying is that, it is really sad to watch a young man like this who had so much of a future in front of him right now have it completely stopped and shut down.
It's not only a future in front of him. You thought you had an ace in front of you for the next 7-8 years, and he has become, his words, one of the worst pitchers in baseball. You can't pitch him anymore
that's
right
what I'm
now.
saying. So Severino, Herman, Montas, Rondon. Those 4 guys.
Yeah.
Basically.
Or nothing.
MIA, missing in action.
Right now they're nothing.
And this has put enormous pressure on the New York Yankees, on the front office, on the team, on the offense, on the manager. And certainly now, when you have what looks to be, it's not even, the team isn't dispirited, because when you listen to Aaron Judge after the game, he's certainly saying all the right things, but what it is trying to figure out, how they can get quality starting pitching to go longer than 5 innings.
And by the way, that's the word right there. You're not looking for a guy to give you, because they should hit. And I do believe at times they hit, sometimes like last night they didn't. But you're not even looking for a guy to go out there I mean, you want it, but you're not saying we need a guy to go out there and give us 8 innings of one-hit ball. You need a guy to go out there.
They don't have a guy.
And pitch 6 innings, give up a few runs, and give the team a chance. That's what you need. And Severino can't do that right now.
But you know who that guy is? That guy is actually Clark Schmidt.
He has been.
That's who he was supposed to be.
He gives them a chance to win.
Now he is number 2 in the pecking order.
Yeah. He's supposed to be number 5.
Well, maybe even number 6 or 7.
Maybe. Yeah,
when they thought acquiring Montas and Rondon, those have been disasters right now.
Yeah.
And Rondon's going to be here for another 5 years.
And that brings you back to the whole Cashman Clappish story from yesterday, that Hal has made up his mind, apparently, that Cashman's coming back. That one, I guess the way it was written was one of the two, Cashman and Boone, are coming back next year. We know that. We're not sure about the other. And the one that's coming back is Cashman.
Yeah, he's got a 4-year contract extension. I don't know.
Yankee fans don't want to.
I know
words
they don't
out
want
of
to
your
hear
mouth just 30 seconds ago, Montas, Rodon, disasters.
I'm not saying that they should bring him back. I'm just telling you about the realities of what is happening. They gave him a 4-year contract extension. He's staying. That's it. We could sit here and scream all day long. The reality is that he's staying. Now, if they fall under 500, come September, they're completely out of it. Maybe Aaron Boone ends up losing his job, which would be really unfair to him because – and I don't have a love affair with Aaron Boone. I don't even want to hear him talk anymore after games. But at the end of the day, you got to be real about what the hell's going on here.
I agree. But
I don't know how many times I have to say it.
But he's also very real with what he's dealing with. I mean, again, outwardly, I'm sure you've played for coaches that are going to call you out. You probably also played for coaches at some point that tried to sugarcoat things outwardly when inside you knew what was going on. He, for whatever reason, is one of these guys that is going to protect his players, and I do think he's got the respect of the locker room, and the fans don't want to hear it anymore because of what they're watching on a nightly basis.
You combine too many interviews because they have to. They're obliged to. They have to make sure that they are available because that's the way Major League Baseball does it, to keep the interest of the fan base and everybody, locked in. But for me, it has been an unmitigated. It's a financial disaster, not as bad as the Mets were, but and it's also a health disaster. It really is.
All right, so now let's come back to come back to the problem and try and fix the problem. And now I'm going to make you Brian Cashman for the moment, okay? And you're looking at this roster. You're looking at this team that is completely banged up, yet they have stayed above 500, as you point out, with all these problems. So the sky is not falling. They are still 59 and 56, I think it is.
What are they, 6.5 games behind Toronto now?
5.5 games out. In the
5.5 games
and think this, and it's not to bring them into the conversation, but just to compare the two, the Mets are 7 out. We talk about the Mets like they're 400 games out in the wild card race. We sit there and say, well, the Yankees, a couple of wins here, a couple of series wins there, they get themselves right back in it. They're 5.5 out. It's not like it's 12 and 2. It's 7 and 5.5.
But the Mets sent up the flare.
Well, you can say that. Pete Alonso hasn't. I agree with you.
I'm not saying the players aren't going to do that, right. But I'm just saying the organization has done that.
And I'm not sitting here claiming the Mets are making this big run to the wild card. I'm not saying that. My point is, we look at the two teams in such different ways. Like, the Yankees, they get themselves back in it. Well, they're only a game and a half better than where the Mets are.
I know, and the Mets actually spent $350 million.
Right.
One of the biggest disasters, if not
the biggest.
If not the biggest, because of the amount of money, the most money ever spent on a roster in Major League Baseball.
All right, so here are your problems with the Yankees right now, and you tell me how you fix them, and this is the problem they're in, which is like running in mud.
Big picture, or are we going short picture?
See, all right, so there's two different things here.
Yes.
Now it comes back to the conversation of, can you rebuild in New York? And I would say you can, as long as you can still try to win while you're doing it.
First of all, the Rangers have done it, and now the Mets are doing it. Okay, the Rangers basically sent out a letter to all of us season ticket holders. They traded away our captain, Ryan McDonough. They traded away JT Miller. And they said, you know what, this ain't working with this group of guys. We're going to have to make drastic changes. And unfortunately, we're doing it at the trade deadline when normally we're buyers. Now we're going to be sellers. And, it's tough to swallow as a Ranger fan, but here we are 4 years later, whatever it is. And, you could see the fruits of those decisions.
Yep.
That's what you're hoping to see for the Mets over the building next 3, 4, 5 years, that, Billy Apple is making the right decisions and Steve Cohen seems to be allowing him to do that. And don't be surprised. Remember, there's most likely going to be a president of baseball operations. And you know his name. And you know where he is?
Mm-hmm.
He is now working for the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Mets will most likely have that John Stearns may be the hire. Okay, so he may be the guy that's going to come in and run the baseball operation. And that could still happen. I expect it will happen. So that will be a good offseason move for the Mets, and I think most Met fans will be happy with that. For the Yankees, there is not going to be anybody. There's going to be Brian Cashman, and he's got to sit down with his analytic guys, and he's got to look at the entire roster and try to figure out what the hell to do with third base and left field. You're not getting rid of Stanton. So I believe they're going to have Torres is going to be here, Stanton's going to be here, Judge is going to be here. Volpe's going to be here.
Let me ask you this: why can't you get rid of Stanton?
You could.
Steve Cohen just shipped guys out and spent a fortune to get rid of them.
I don't think anybody wants him.
If you pay the salary?
Well, then
you're going to tell him someone would take Giancarlo Stanton if you pick up 70% of his salary. The Marlins are picking up a little bit. If the Yankees picked up another 60% of it, you can find a suitor for Giancarlo Stanton if your owner is willing to eat the money like the Met owner just did.
Depending on what he gets in return. I mean, they're not going to let him go for nothing.
Why? Well, you're not getting anything from him.
The Met owner basically said to you, I'm going to eat $100 million
I understand.
To acquire young, aggressive talent, and that's what they did.
But sometimes there's addition by subtraction, and sometimes there's kind of clearing the deck and restarting. You've got issues right now going forward to the point of what do you do with this team? You mentioned third base. Absolutely. I'm going to mention also by name LeMahieu, Rizzo. I'm going to say right field. You're saying left field? Absolutely. Well, what do you do in right field?
Oh, it's Judge.
But everybody also says as Judge moves on now, he's probably going to be a DH right field. But what if he gets hurt again?
Oh, God, Jesus.
But that's the conversation.
Let the chips fall where they may. It's professional sports. Let it go.
I agree with you. But when you're paying a guy so much money to hit home runs, you need to keep him healthy. Hell, the other guy can't run around third base because he almost felt something. So they have major roster issues, and I don't know, unless you're going to ship guys out and start with a nucleus of, let's say, Judge, Volpe will stay there, because I don't know what you're doing with Gleyber Torres or not. But let's just say,
him, actually, I'm not doing anything.
Let's say here's your core. Volpe, Judge, Bader, and let's say Torres. Okay, those four. How are you building around them? How are you getting rid of pieces that are dead weight? And then going forward from that point, and then fixing the pitching issue.
The only silver lining that I see right now is that Clark Schmidt is a silver lining for the pitching staff.
And Garrett Cole has been incredibly consistent.
But he's living up to his contract.
Yes.
There's no question about it. But I would just say that they got to get healthy first and foremost. The pitching staff's got to get healthy, both mentally and physically. You have two mental train wrecks right now in Domingo Germán and Luis Severino. And then you have two other guys, Montas and Rodon, that don't even play.
They're rumors.
So those are four guys right there that just completely torpedoes the entire season.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back,
they're above 500 even with that.
And they are above 500 even with that, although just lost a series to one of the poorer teams in Major League Baseball, in the Chicago White Sox. All right, we'll come back with Chris Lopresti. He's got some good sound for you from last night. Also, we will continue on the theme of the Yankees. How do you fix them? How do you not fix them? What do you do with the GM? He's not going anywhere. How about the manager? We shall see all that and more. 877-337-6666.